Hello, everyone, to the 88th episode of Kouryer podcast. Today, I'm joined with Teo Skaffa. He's an illustrator and character designer from Holland, but is currently based in the same city that I am, Istanbul, Turkey. So, with that quick introduction out of the way, let's get to the first question. Give us a little introduction on how you got into visual arts and design.
Oof, man, that's I mean, I don't know how I can keep this short, man. Okay, so I feel like every artist always says this, right? I mean, you everybody draws as a kid, and some people just sort of keep drawing, and that's what I did, I guess. Obviously, you don't make it your job immediately, but I think if you just persevere and just keep doing it, eventually, yeah, I don't know, you just end up doing it. I'm not really good at anything else either, so
Yeah, makes sense. Pretty straightforward
yeah,
story, to be
yeah,
honest. And well, that aside, but what is your? Of course, in the introduction, I briefly mentioned that you're an illustrator and character designer. But this question, and we want to go a bit in depth.
of course.
What is your main branch of design that you're focusing on? And tell us about your experience from the start of it till now.
Oh man, okay, this has the potential to be a very long story, by the way.
It's
Uh,
absolutely fine. You can go as long as you want.
um, okay, so I went to art school a long, long time ago. It must have been 20 years ago now or something. I studied animation actually, um, and then I did a lot of graphic design as well. When I was younger, I worked at some advertising agencies doing graphic design, but it's just, yeah, more power to graphic designers, but I guess it never really was my thing. I probably wasn't really good at it either. Um, then I did animation, and for some reason, for I would say about 8 to 10 years or something, I just got sort of stuck doing incredibly horrible corporate design, like these corporate explanation animation things, right? Like
Yeah.
basically companies selling products, like this flat design, like this typical sort of style that was popular also like 10 years ago. And it made me super depressed because it's really not. It's not really creatively fulfilling work. Um, on the side, I was like always doing my own work, and I was painting a lot actually, like traditional painting. Really bad, also by the way. Uh, and then actually, I lived in Eindhoven briefly, which is a city in Holland, like a couple of years ago, and I rented a studio there, like a workplace. And then I saw there's a sort of event hall below the studio in the same building. And then I saw that a classmate of mine, Loish, who you might know, had there was some sort of conference happening. I didn't really understand what it was, but she was speaking there, and I didn't talk to her for a while. So I sent her a message like, "Hey, I'm actually in the area. I'll drop by." This event was Playgrounds. I don't know if you've heard of this.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I tried to attend this year's playground, but I was kind of had to study for like a July 10th exam
Hmm.
I had. But yeah, long story, whatever.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and COVID happened also. So, but I went there actually, and my mind was blown. Like this sort of whole world that I didn't know existed of concept art and character design and like environmental design. There's a whole animation industry which I wasn't sort of really aware of. I'm aware that these like 3D movies exist, but I never really thought about that there's like a legion of artists working on these things. And I was there, and I was like, "Whoa, this is what I need to do." So this is not so long ago. This is 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. Um, I'm a social guy, so I was there. I was drinking beers with everybody, and then I met some really cool guys, and we became close friends. And they actually guided me towards where I am now, like sort of going from corporate uh, soulless design to like learning the tricks in Photoshop, like teaching me about composition, color harmony, that sort of stuff. Uh, and then I sort of made the decision a year after to drop all my clients and just for one year just completely focus on like reinventing myself and like redoing my whole portfolio. Luckily, like my girlfriend supported me, right? Because I mean, how will you survive without money? And I did this, and then basically from then onwards, from then like everything changed. My complete like creative life completely changed. Did that answer your
Oh.
question? I don't even remember what the question was.
Uh, it did, because I asked, what is your main branch of design that you're focusing on, and tell us about your experience,
Ah,
and you
yeah, yeah.
kind of gave us your experience pretty much. And I just realized on this from this angle of camera, because the way like this side of my t-shirt is folded, it seems like my arm is cut in half. Is it kind of obvious, or is it just am I just tripping?
No, man, like I don't know what's happening, but like the video quality is so low, like on my end. I don't know if it's my
Yeah,
internet or if it's just streaming. Like
yes.
I just see pixels, man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's because probably your internet connection is trying to, like, Zencaster is trying to optimize both the
Ah,
audio and video at the same time. That's
right,
happening.
right.
But in the output, it's gonna be fine.
Cool.
All right. So actually, I had a question. When during the whole thing that you were talking about, you mentioned that. Wait. I think this is just a side effect of my second dose of vaccine, because I
Probably, man.
literally just forgot. Oh my god! All right, so for now I'm gonna move on to the next question. If it
Sure,
came back,
sure.
and I'll ask away. All right, the next question is: were you originally studying art and design, or you were pursuing another career path? Like, what I mean by that is, like, when you were like in high school, or maybe in your teen years, or maybe even when you grow up, to become 18, 19 or something. Were you from the get-go knew you wanted to become an artist, or you had another plans? Maybe you were going to engineering, or I don't know, wanted to become something else, a more stable job,
Uh-huh.
and you just saw art as a hobby or something. How was the situation for you?
I mean, I mean, yeah. I get again. I don't think I'm that special in this regard. Like I think a lot of artists go through this. Like especially what you said about the stable job. Like this is definitely a sort of common theme, which what families will definitely mention to you. So yeah, my mom wasn't too happy with me going to art school, and for literally the same arguments that you mentioned, like maybe it's unstable, get a stable job, everything like this. So I didn't initially go to art school. I went to, man, what do you call this in English? Like sort of studying to be a social worker, right?
Hmm.
My mom works with like handicapped people, so our family has sort
Hmm.
of a, I mean, you usually try, sort of follow in your parents' footsteps, sort of, right? When you don't know what you're doing yet, and I mean, man, you're like 16 or something when you have to make these choices, right? Like what path in life you're gonna take.
Yeah.
What do you know when you're 16, man? You know nothing. So I mean, eventually I stopped that, and I went to art school. Um, Man, I don't know. I guess I never really had like the thought to like really become an artist. I just really enjoyed drawing and making stuff. So I thought, like, I mean, why not? Let's give it a chance, right? Uh, and I mean, I guess I made it like a little bit late though, like the whole story I told about sort of not doing interesting stuff for years. And I mean, yeah, I'm 37. I'm 37 or 8 now. I don't really remember. So I mean, this whole sort of career boost happened like in the past 2 years or something.
Hmm.
Like,
Nice.
so what I can tell you is that um, so it's I mean, man, it's interesting. Like I learned a lot of things in the past 5 years or something. So like most of my friends would always say, why don't you make children's books? Why don't you make children's books? Like it would be perfect, right? And I was always sort of in the state of mind like, okay, yeah, I can, but people have to ask me, right? Because I mean, I don't know, I'm not
Yeah,
so
sure.
yeah, I mean, sure, I can make my own children's book, but this is like writing a book is a whole different story. Okay.
Mhm.
uh, um, so what I've learned is that if you want to do something, right, you have to be quite specific because clients can't really sort of figure out like, okay, this guy draws cute cats, let's ask him to do a children's book. No, you have to make like children's book specific stuff, and then publishers and clients will sort of figure out like, okay, great, he draws like cute characters, so this is perfect for children, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, as an artist, I know I can draw lots of different stuff, but you might not always show all this stuff, right? And
Yeah.
so let's say I'm drawing like superheroes the whole time, right? And I'm aware that I can also draw, I don't know, cute cat characters, but they're not on
Hmm.
my portfolio. A client is not going to guess that I can draw cute cat characters by just seeing all these superhero drawings, right? So sort of 3 years ago, this ties into what I said before. I very specifically sort of changed my style. Yeah, sort of not changed my style, but like change the direction of my style to like be more suited for children's books. So like lots of textures, no outlines, bright colors, that sort of stuff. Which is, I mean, it's amazing. I love this stuff as well. And then as soon as you start doing this stuff, like suddenly the publishers notice you, and suddenly like you get requests for this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean
So yeah.
that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I mean ArtStation and Instagram, like believe it or not, there's a lot of like it's actually for artists a really good place to put their works on because there's always people who are looking for style and work and they just contact you. Even like I've had friends like even from Iran who they didn't have much of a following or anything, but they were just using basic hashtags and stuff like that. And they
Mhm.
got clients from outside Iran, and sometimes they get paid in crypto because of course there's because of the sanctions, like because actually that's the only option.
Yeah. I mean, I
For
always
things.
try, but I've not had a client yet that wants to pay me in crypto.
Well, of course, I mean you don't have a problem. Like you're not an Iranian citizen because
Yeah,
as an Iranian citizen, there's a lot of sanctions
of course.
naturally, and you can't even have a PayPal or anything, any means. So not
Right.
just Iran, like countries like Iraq, and basically countries that don't have much of a access to international services.
Yeah.
They
I
have
mean,
to resort to other stuff. Yeah.
PayPal was blocked in Turkey here as well. So.
Oh yeah, since
Yeah.
2006. But for example, there's Mastercard and Visa, still in Turkey as
Right.
well. Like there's a lot of other stuff. Yes, I mean there's sanctions on Turkey, but not as bad as like those other
Hmm.
countries. Trust me. And oh, actually, the thing I forgot, I just remembered when you said like you were working at a corporate animation and graphic job. It was so soulless.
Hmm.
Um, I kind of had the same experience as well, and like funny story, it happened in Istanbul as well, and they turned out to be, and they kind of scammed me, out of my half of my salary,
Yeah.
and yeah, I was a pretty noob kid, at that time, in general, not just in work professionally, but in life as well. Like people could really easily, take advantage of me.
Hmm.
I was because naturally not right now, of course, but I used to be a really simple person, like not simple as in dumb,
Just don't know yet.
as yeah, I had pure intentions usually, but
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah. And the thing is that the best way I could just make an analogy by how what you mean by that job being soulless, aside from it that being a corporate job, and corporate jobs mostly are kind of soulless. The thing is that if we, for example, say carpentry, the skill of carpentry is drawing,
Hmm.
and making MDF cabinets and boxes, dog and cat houses, stuff like that is like graphic design. There's nothing wrong with that. It's cool. It's useful.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, with carpentry, you can make coolest wooden statues, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
And the concept art and this side of world is, what I think both of us are kind of have that kind of perspective, we both like this. We don't like to necessarily build like, MDF cabinets and stuff like that. By the way, like,
Exactly.
I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with graphic design or graphic design is soulless. Graphic design is absolutely not soulless.
Hmm.
My first background in art is I did graphic design 7 years freelance. At first, yeah, yes. Holy hell, it's been
Yeah.
7 years.
Yeah, man.
And since I was 16, I started to get into Illustrator and stuff like that. And I guess from late 17, I started to actually take clients, in Iran.
Hmm.
Then, some clients here as well for t-shirts, merch, and everything.
Right.
But I only said this just to explain the analogy of, the people who first go into graphic design and they don't find it fulfilling and they just go to, the other side of the art.
Yeah. Well, man, like, I mean, yes, you're right. Like, but I also think, and this is maybe something that I didn't really think about before, but which makes sense to me now. I wasn't particularly very good at it either, right? So if you're not so good at something, this also means that you get different types of clients, right? Because if you're like an amazing graphic designer who does, or it doesn't matter, illustrator, you can, or musician, it doesn't really matter. You're amazing, right? You'll get different type of clients, and the clients will trust you more as well, right? But I mean, if you're not really good at something yet, the clients will be different as well. The money will be lower. What I've noticed is usually like the lower the money, the more demanding a client is, right? And the thing is like, okay, the industry that I'm in now, like publishing and concept art and that sort of stuff, I mean, these are usually they're bigger productions. So there's art directors, there's producers, that sort of stuff. Most of the time, like the art director knows what he's talking about, right? But when I did these small sort of animation jobs, like there is no art director. I'm my own art director, and the client is sort of the art director. But man, like you're selling like I don't know, some app on the internet. Like you don't necessarily know anything about art, right? But you still have to listen to the demands of the clients. And I kid you not, like it has happened that like I delivered the animation or like something, and they showed it to their daughter or something, their young kid or a niece or something, and they said like they didn't like the color purple of the character, like the shirt it was wearing, you know? And then what can you do, man? Like, I had to change this because, I mean, the guy is paying me, right? Even though, like, maybe, but purple maybe matches better with the background, that sort of stuff. Because, I mean, these people have no clue about hue and saturation, about, like, all this kind of stuff. And what am I going to do? Like, am I going to fight this battle, right, to keep the shirt purple? Like, it doesn't interest me that much either. But these kind of sort of small things kept happening to me, which takes the joy out of work, right? Like, every time you get an email, it was sort of, okay, here we go again, right? And it's not even like in a sort of arrogant sense that I definitely knew better than somebody who has like no history or experience with art whatsoever. But it's just very grating, you know, like it just keeps going. Like sometimes they just want to make changes because they want to make changes, like not because they're well-informed decisions or anything. Now, the more professional you start to work, in my experience at least, like this might differ for other people, but the more professional you start to work, the more logical all the feedback gets, you know, everything sort of makes sense. Like what I've experienced is like every revision that I've ever had in the past 3 years is usually to make the product better. And it does make the product better, like the book or the animation or whatever, because there's other people that are also invested in it and that are also experienced. Because I mean, you're not going to be an art director like out of nowhere, right? For like a Disney movie or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm just happy that I'm hearing this from you as well, because that's not an Iranian or Turkish problem, because I also had those problems in graphic design.
It's
like
worldwide, man.
Yeah, oh my God. Like the most common one was like, for example, they give you a task or brief, and you do that in maybe 30 minutes or 20 minutes, and you do it very well. And they're mad that you did it quick. And they're like,
oh, really?
It just took you like 5 minutes. Like, why should I pay you? Like, you didn't even put any effort in it. Like, you know, stuff like that. Like, they would like, you know, they didn't have a contract for me, you know. And here's the thing, that as I said, I was kind of, you know, dumb and inexperienced for this stuff. I just took them. I thought, oh, these are cool guys. I mean, they probably, because I kind of got introduced from a mutual, you know. So I thought, they must be trustworthy or something. Boom, wrong answer. And basically they said we need you to work 5 hours every day, and that 5 hours you need to fill it yourself, you know, or do the stuff we do, and also fill it yourself, do stuff for the company. Oh my God, it's just the typical sense, like they were like a cliche comedy of all things wrong with I'm not kidding, people, just bad graphic design, just bad clients, you know.
I mean, it just goes to show that it's a worldwide problem, and it really doesn't matter if you're in Iran or in Holland. And also, what's interesting is, like, I mean, I'm probably going to butcher this right now because I don't, but I think it was like a sort of quote by Picasso, I think, or it happened to Picasso. Like, somebody, like, asked to buy a sketch of him on a napkin or something. Man, I'm probably going to, like, not tell the story properly, but the gist is going to be there. Right? And the person who got the napkin was sort of disappointed because he drew something in like 3 minutes, like maybe 3 seconds, because it's Picasso, right? And then they sort of started complaining. But I mean, come on, man, you drew this in like 3 seconds. Can't you put a bit more effort? And then like his reply was sort of like, all right, I drew this in 3 seconds, but it took me 30 years to be able to draw this in 3 seconds, right? So, which is like
Exactly.
it ties into what you said. Like, I mean, the time doesn't matter, man. If you can do, you should work efficiently. Uh, and this is actually one of my main things, is because I mean, I've got the basics down, right? I understand like drawing and light and composition. There's still so much to learn, like, but the basics are down, right? Now, like my next goal is, how can I do this as quick and efficiently as possible, right? Do I need to draw all these little small details and all these little shines on the nose and that sort of stuff, or can I just like do it a bit quicker and rougher, and is it going to have the same, the same end result? Because if I can, okay, so normally like an intricate illustration that I do usually takes me around 2 days, sometimes three, right? It also depends on how quick I'm able to sketch things. But man, if I could do this in 1 day, right? That means that I can make 2 drawings a week, like 2 full illustrations, right? This is awesome, because the more I can make, the better, right? And this is like, I'm not even talking about clients. I'm just talking for my own like personal work. But what I've noticed also from working with clients now, man, like making deadlines and sort of thinking ahead and thinking with the client. I mean, they love this, man. They love it. They love if something needs to be changed and it happens quickly, right? I mean, it's better than just taking 5 days. And actually, I don't really. I mean, even if I get paid by the hour, I would still do it in 1 hour, and not like while I could get paid for 3, because I mean, I want to move on to other projects as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those you're just describing the ideal type of clients. People who actually understand, how the whole thing goes.
Yeah, yeah.
And well, let's move on to another subject. How does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a design project?
Hmm. Okay, so there is. I think we should make a distinction. Like, do you want me to answer this question like for my own personal work or for clients? Because there's quite a big difference, I think, actually.
I think I'll go with your personal works.
Okay, so uh, which is also okay. So when you get a brief from a client, you sort of know what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Your personal work, I mean, it can be
Hmm.
anything, right?
Yep.
Um, so the thing is, I have so many sketches of stuff that I didn't finish, right? Like basically, probably I could. I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but I could. I mean, I could definitely not worry about what I want to draw for the coming maybe 3-4 months or something, right? Because there's so many sketches I have, so many like sort of ideas. The thing is, like how I start is, I mean, it varies, but I mean, this is gonna sound like a bit esoteric or something, which I'm like not sort of like a person like this at all. So that sort of moment where you wake up but you're not fully awake yet, right? You're sort of in a sort of
Yeah.
dream state, but you're aware that you're in the real world. Like what I usually get is like you sort of I see stuff, right? But everybody has this, like sort of half dreams. It also happens when you sort of fall asleep, but you're aware that you're falling asleep, right? You're sort of like start seeing the most crazy shit. Um, so I would say that like maybe 60% of ideas come from this. I just see things. I just sort of see situations, and obviously this is influenced by what I've done in the day, or maybe a movie I watched or a video game I've played. So it happens sometimes when I wake up really early anyway, but sometimes I wake up at 3 at night and I'm in this state, and then like uh, I force myself to get up, walk to the computer, and just like quickly sketch it out, and then maybe go to bed again afterwards, because these ideas get lost as well. Like as soon as they
Yeah.
come, they go as quickly as well.
You can't take a picture or a
So
screenshot of them. You just have to draw them.
I mean, maybe now I'm vaccinated, so I'm still sort of waiting for these superpowers to unlock. But I mean, so far nothing's happening. Oh my God.
Yeah, I
So this is,
mean, yeah. Yeah, sorry, go
yeah.
on.
I mean, this is the start, and then to me, man, like the ideas are the most important. The rest is just technique, right? Like the idea needs to be solid. I mean, composition also needs to be solid, but you can move around everything. Like working digitally, it's super easy to make like 20 variations of the same thing. for me, like storytelling and idea is the most important. And I mean, I'm not special in that regard, but I mean, a lot of concept artists. Also, if you look at the front page of ArtStation, and nothing against those artists or ArtStation, right? But okay, man, like some other like scantily clad, big boobed anime waifus, right? Some orcs here and there. Like there's sort of, and the technique is beautiful, right? So it's well painted, everything. But it feels as sort of empty to me. There's nothing there. There's nothing sort of like, I mean, stylistically there's a lot there, but there's nothing. There's no storytelling. There's no interesting hook or anything, right? I'm not saying that I'm a genius storyteller. Let me be clear, but it is very difficult for me to just think like, okay, I'm going to sit down and draw an orc with a big sword now, right? Because I mean, why would I do this? Like, why can't I put this orc in a setting? Like, why can't this orc? I mean, I wouldn't draw an orc anyway. I'm not so interested in fantasy, but like, why isn't this orc doing anything, right? And what is okay? The first thing that comes to mind, okay, the orc is like I don't know, killing a wizard or something, right? Or like doing something because orcs do brutish stuff. So I mean, I like to subvert these sort of things, right? Like either make it unexpectedly cute, or so. I really enjoy like drawing scary pictures. But scary pictures are, I mean, scary pictures, right? But I like to do something else, right? So there, I did this one drawing. I don't know if you're going to edit this and then maybe show this later. I have no clue. But there's like this sort of like scary woman sort of thing in a pond in the woods, and like the sort of rendering technique is as if it's like taken with like a flashlight on a camera, everything, right? But then there's like ducks there, like bathtub ducks, these yellow ducks, right? Which is sort of unexpected. I like these kind of things. Dude, this is not genius, right? This is not like but I want to make stuff fun, right? So a few weeks ago, I wanted to draw like one of sort of like these Japanese. I mean, this happens also. I get inspired by seeing other things and try to sort of emulate techniques. So I was really inspired by this. I'm probably going to mispronounce this. This ukiyo-e, like these Japanese woodblock prints. So I wanted to do something similar, right? Now, okay, you start thinking, okay, what is like sort of what fits in this setting? Okay, these paper screens, like a dragon, right? But like one of these cool Japanese dragons, not like a scaly Game of Thrones dragon. All right, but what am I gonna do? Like, what are they gonna do? And then I just sort of came up with the idea, like, okay, maybe a girl can feed the dragon, right? Which is sort of cute again, but it's really weird because the dragon's quite grotesque, like with saliva and. I mean, I really enjoyed these kind of things. So again, like to come back to your question, I'm rattling, man, but I mean, I guess that's what a podcast
No,
is
it's
for. Also.
fine. Yeah, exactly.
So I really like. So the idea is the most important for me because I mean, and sometimes it doesn't work because sometimes I can't come up with anything that interests me because it has to interest me, right? Sometimes I'm aware, like, okay, this is a really sort of cheap idea, right? But okay, fine. Like I'm just gonna go with it and maybe focus a little bit more on the technique, push myself a little bit more to learn something, get out of this. Because not everything you can make will be like your, masterpiece, I guess.
All right, and no, for a second I was just trying to find how to unmute my microphone. That's why it took a bit.
Worried, man.
All right, so actually, right now I want to talk about and ask you about some of your works that you've done, and it's on your Instagram. And by the way, I don't know if you saw the video version of the podcast before format, but the format is, for example, there's a video of me below and there's a video of you on the call top, and here is like a compilation, like a time lapse of the guest's work. So the work that you just
great.
spoke about, I can just add it to the reel. It's gonna be fine.
Okay, great, man.
And the thing is, actually, like as I said, I browsed through some of your stuff. Like as you said, there's a nice sort of like contrast of elements to them. Like one of them that actually caught my eye right now is that of course I'm gonna put them in the reel as well for anyone who's listening. Audio listeners, sorry, you gotta see the YouTube version to see what we're talking about, or see the Instagram. But for people who are watching it on YouTube, perhaps, I have the stuff that I'm even gonna talk about right now on the the reel here, right? So the work I'm talking about is the one. I think there's this guy with like a grenade launcher, and there's like a ginger girl next to it, and a pink
Right,
fluffy
right.
rabbit. That rabbit is actually pretty cute. Is handing the guy like
Yeah, yeah,
grenade
yeah.
launchers, and bunch of
Uh-huh.
pig cops are like shooting at them, chasing them. Oh, I just realized the pink fluffy rabbit is wanted.
Exactly, man.
Is the criminal?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So,
that's I like it. I like the story behind it.
yeah, so this is exactly what I mean. Sort of like,
Yeah.
first you're sort of wondering, like, why is this pink sort of cute character even there? That doesn't make any sense, right? Uh, and then by just adding something very small and like maybe not even at the center of the composition, because I think I don't have the image here now, but the wanted poster is not even like fully in view, right? It's sort of in the corner somewhere. So if when you start paying attention to the details and that sort of stuff, then like a small story unfolds, right? So the
Yeah.
composition needs to be interesting and like the technique needs to be interesting as well. But I like to sort of hide like these kind of small details in all my work. There's actually many more Easter eggs in my work, which I'm not gonna like sort of divulge now. But there's a like my friends know also. So when I send pictures to my friends for feedback, like the first thing they do is like trying to find like the small Easter eggs that I hide in like literally every drawing I do, even for clients. Like I hope my clients are not listening, but
All right. Now that's actually awesome. That's one of the things I really like. When doing, I'm a sucker for this type of things. Even when video game developers or level designers put the small details in their game, like when you find it,
mm-hmm.
like one of the coolest like Easter eggs I remember as a kid when I saw was, I think it was one of the first things. I don't know if you played Grand Theft Auto 3, like the really old one. I think the first 3D one.
Yeah, which one? I've played all of them, but man, this is such a long time ago. Which what
The one before
it's
Vice
not Vice
City.
City, right?
No, the
Before
one
Vice
before
City.
Vice City. That
I
was in
mean,
New York.
yeah, I must have played it, but
The thing is,
it's
there
been
was a
so long ago.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of cheat codes in this game, and there's a cheat code that you could basically fly, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
place on top of, I think, a bridge or building that the only way you could get there is by cheating. And
Right,
there's
right,
and
right.
the developers write you shouldn't be here.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Amazing,
Like those type of
amazing,
Easter eggs. Or I remember, oh
amazing.
my god, I remember. I think it was in Max Payne 2. There was a hidden room, like it was an Easter egg, but it was a memorial, I think, to one of the staff and developers that passed away, and they made a shrine for him with his picture and
Right,
stuff like
right.
that.
What
But
was there?
they,
Zelda, maybe no. I think Zelda had something
um,
similar.
I've never played Zelda, but maybe Zelda
Shame on you,
had
man.
that. No, I didn't have Nintendo when I was a kid. Sorry,
No, yeah,
I was a Sega kid. I was a Sonic kid.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, and actually another thing that really got my attention was in your original character design. I think you did it recently. Like yes, not if we could call June 3rd, 2020 recently. Yes, all right, around a year ago. You did like a 6 fan art thing like challenge,
Ah, right, yeah, yeah.
and like there's like it's obvious that there's a certain style. Like I follow a lot of like illustrators, like illustrators. I don't mean necessarily graphic designers, like actual
Mm-hmm.
illustrators who do like illustrations and stuff like that. And they all have it's like it comes with time, it like comes with years and years of practice that there's like a distinct kind of like style to them. And like
Mm-hmm.
your style kind of has that thing to it as well. Like for example, you drew Big Boss, from Phantom Pain,
All right, yeah, yeah.
but in a weird reason, it fits the style. The style isn't aggressive or brutish or gloomy or depressive. It's actually
Uh-huh.
kind of cheerful a bit.
I mean,
Uh, and it kind of fits the whole Big Boss character.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, yeah. I guess. I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, this is like I didn't give this. Okay, this particular thing. It's because it went viral on Instagram, right? And I mean, social media became part of the illustrator life as well, right? Because you need to put yourself out there, that sort of stuff. Um, I'll be honest, man. This was sort of like a how can I say this? A snack, right? Because like the characters already exist, I don't really have to sort of think about designing a character. So Big Boss, like I think I actually made a mistake because, but I mean, Metal Gear Solid is super confusing, right? Because Big Boss was a clone, and then like
Yeah, there's a
I mean, no,
whole.
yeah, exactly. It's super
Yeah.
confusing. So some people on Instagram also commented like, "This is not Big Boss" or something. And I played the games, but I mean, I didn't like the whole story. Is like also I don't want to do like 20 pages of Wikipedia research when I'm just drawing a character for Instagram, right?
Yeah.
So, but okay, man. Like, so what I like the the things about Big Boss, right? There was the thing growing out of his head at one point. He has sort of obviously like very manly features. He has a beautiful mullet, right? The eye patch is a thing. So there's the ingredients are already there, right? You don't really have to sort of really think about how am I going to dress up this character. So then the only thing I have to worry about is like the general shapes. So right, so like the big nose and the strong features, that sort of stuff. Of course, I have to add something cute in there. So I think I don't have the image in front of me, but like the patch on his shoulder is like some ridiculous dog that I drew, right? Like a children's drawing almost. So like I said, this is sort of an Instagram thing. So it's sort of easy, man, because I don't really have to. Again, the character is pre-designed already. I just have to sort of remix it and put my own flavor on there. Like designing a character from scratch is much more difficult because
Yeah.
what kind of clothing are you going to give it, right? Like how far are the eyes going to be apart? How far is the mouth? And of course, there's always certain elements that I fall back on, and this is style, I guess. I think it was who was this? So, what is this guy's name? He draws like these beautiful. Basically, he draws girls only. Sam. He has a YouTube channel also. Sam Does Art.
Oh, Sam
Like
does art.
I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, but I think I saw one of his videos last week, and he said something that resonated with me. He said like, style is basically how you prefer to do things, and that's it, right? And I thought like this makes so much more sense than anything
Exactly.
I
Oh
could
my
ever
god.
say about this, right? Because this is what it is. Like it's just a certain way of doing things. Like one thing that is very typical about my drawings is the way I draw hair. And the thing is that the technique never changes because I sort of figured out like, okay, this works. This meshes well with because drawing hair is quite difficult, man, because it's like voluminous and there's like lots of stuff happening. So I sort of figured out a graphical way to solve this problem. And like I will probably never do this differently, right? So this really resonated with me, sort of like it's just how you want to do things, and then like consistently keep doing them, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And like two things I want to mention about the two last works we talked about. One of them is that actually like you kind of did a big brain 200 IQ move when you actually named the person Big Boss because you didn't want to spoil it for the people who haven't played the game. That's
Okay, right. So it's not me. I didn't forget
yeah,
everything.
they
Yeah,
didn't.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and that aside, like another thing I also want to mention, the previous work I asked you about, with the pink bunny and stuff like that, like I can actually imagine this scene, like the graphics, especially the graphic style of this whole work to be implemented maybe in a game, like it
Right.
actually fits well in a game, like especially like here's the thing, the the way it's drawn, like I could see it being rigged for animators easily. The
Mm-hmm.
way you draw it, like the arms, the elbows, and everything. Like you could easily isolate them. In this type of like kind
Mm-hmm.
of drawing style illustration. So yeah, that's something that I'm sure that you've thought about. Maybe doing for a video game or something. Like that, like a 2D indie studio or something. Right?
Yeah, I've actually started several small projects which didn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've briefly worked with some friends on like maybe a sort of Animal Crossing type game, but like again with some subversion in there, so everything turns out not to be so cute as it looks, right? That sort of stuff. But man, everybody is busy. It's really difficult to. 'Cause video games are
Yeah.
long-term projects. They're really
Yes,
long-term
they are.
projects, and man, like I'll be honest, I really enjoy like making illustrations and like just pictures, right? I really don't enjoy drawing assets. So, like drawing the character, drawing it from
Oh
three
yeah.
different sides. Okay, we need a house, but you need to walk around the house, or it's like semi 3D or something. So you need to draw the sides, which nobody's ever gonna probably see. That sort of stuff. It just doesn't feel like. I tried, but it's just. I lose interest so quickly because when I make my own illustrations, okay, you come up with a setting. Okay, so there has to be a window and a part of a garden, right? But that's it. I don't have to think about like what the rest of the house is going to look like or where the street lights are because if you keep walking to the left, like the lighting also needs to make sense, that sort of stuff. So Actually, maybe this was a drawing instructor on art school who said this. I don't know, but I think he said something like, okay, if you can't figure out how to draw something, right, just figure out how to not draw it. So maybe there's a tree in the way, or maybe there's a right, which I mean, I guess this is not advice that I'm giving, by the way, because it's probably not solid advice if you want to learn something. But if the end result is more important, right, just having a beautiful illustration, then yes, take as many shortcuts as you can, because it's about the story you're trying to tell. It's not for me at least, it's not necessarily for me to show off to people how well I can draw.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, like of course, I'm gonna put the works that we talked about, and a bunch of other works in the reel here as well for the video version. And let's move on to the next subject. All right, so who are your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
I should have prepared this. We talked about this. I should have written
It's
down
fine.
names,
It's
and I
fine.
completely forgot because I'm so bad with names. Okay, well, there's many. There's definitely many, and they switch out a lot as well. Lately, I've been really inspired by Catherine Lamb's work, and especially because like the way the setting she chooses, there's like a sort of melancholy in all the pictures, without necessarily like there's characters usually, but they're not really design. I mean, they're not like character design characters, right? They're usually far off in the background. They usually don't even have faces, but I mean, there's so much sort of like there's such atmosphere coming from these pictures, like just with a girl, like I don't know, sitting on the stairs somewhere, and that's it, like sitting on the stairs in front of a building. But like there's such a how do you say? I mean, it really resonates with me, even though it has nothing to do with my own work. And that's actually one of the things. Like I usually get more inspired by people sort of outside of the concept art world than people that are in the concept art world. Actually, and I mean, this might be a bit of a weird thing to say, but for instance, on ArtStation, I don't think I follow anyone. Right? I just upload my work there. I follow a lot of people on Instagram because Instagram is sort of my preferred way of communicating with people. And I don't really check ArtStation either, because not because the art is not good, but most of the stuff doesn't really interest me that much. Like my interests lie a lot more like sort of outside of the sort of general concept art sphere or something. Like, and man, the thing is like it changes. So artists sort of like sometimes you see something in a certain artist does and is really inspiring you. Like one guy that comes to mind is Rex Crowley. Crowell. I'm not really quite sure how to pronounce it. He is the guy who did Knights and Bikes recently. This video game, beautifully like hand drawn art by him. He did what is this game, man? Like this was sort of an indie game on I think the PlayStation 4, and it was the first one that I think used like the controllers, like this gyroscopic stuff. Flat. Wait. Let me check. I'm gonna check now.
Yeah, actually, it's fine. Yeah, take your time.
Of course, it's not going to show the games that he made. Tearaway. Yeah.
Oh.
So actually, he really inspired me, but maybe not in a way that is sort of obvious. I saw him speak at playgrounds one year, or maybe online. I'm not quite sure. And like his style is beautiful. Like what he did for Knights and Bikes is like a gorgeous art style. But one of the things that he said, which I thought was really interesting, and this is something that stuck to me to this day. So he was making this game, right? And again, like what I just said, like in my case, like doing all these assets, like it would drive me crazy. He was also talking about this, and he said like, how do you keep consistency, like, right? Because you're drawing like a tower in one file, and then you have to draw a bush in the other file. that sort of stuff. And then he said, like he and the guy who made the game, because I think he did all the art. Um, they just decided, okay, we're gonna use like 3 brushes. That's it, and we'll do everything with these 3 brushes, or 2 brushes maybe even. I'm not quite sure, but it was a very limited amount. So what happens if you use like the same brushes for all these things? You're gonna get a sort of automatic consistency, right? So man, this really inspired me, or it didn't inspire me, but it sort of like it's such a logical thing that I didn't think about because man, there's a gazillion brushes out there, right? All artists sell their brush packs. Like you buy a brush packs, there's 500 brushes in there. What the hell are you going to use these brushes for? And at that point in my sort of development as an artist, I was sort of, like, okay, I have to draw grass, download a grass brush, right? Which doesn't make any sense at all. Like now, when I think about it, like there's different ways to do grass, and this grass brush is probably not going to mesh with like the other brushes you use. So I basically threw away all my brushes except like 5 favorite ones, or at my and I still keep thinking about this to this day, and this is something that, I mean, he doesn't realize it probably. I mean, I spoke to him, and I told him this, that I really appreciated this, and it's maybe a very like small thing for him to explain, but this like profoundly changed the way I work, and will probably, I mean, I will probably keep doing this for the rest of my life, right? Using 3 brushes, 4 brushes. So this is sort of an inspiration, not necessarily on a visual sense, but more of a interesting technique sense, I guess.
All right. And actually, like with the whole background and the whole setup you have, actually, the next question is kind of related to the setups. And what technologies and softwares do you mostly use for your works?
Man, I really basic actually. I use an Intuos Pro, I think. Yeah, and just a keyboard and a MacBook and Photoshop, and that's it.
Hmm?
I do actually have a Cintiq, but just I mean it doesn't really match the way I have a really strange way of working, man. Like we can talk about this as well. Uh,
Yeah, please, if
so
you want.
yeah, so the thing is like I don't actually draw anything. I mean, not in the sort of traditional sense where you're like, like making a line like this, right? I use the lasso tool, and using the lasso tool is not so special, but I use the polygonic lasso tool. So this is the one, where you like click, you drag, you click, you
Mm.
drag. I draw everything with this. So a circle, I'll draw like this. And I've got the technique down like this that I can basically, I mean, it's difficult to show, but like, I sort of like, like, so
Mm.
when I'm using I'm just sort of like chiseling, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so, okay, so when I work, and remind me to send you some sketches and stuff so you can like
Oh,
put it up
awesome.
on the YouTube cast because it will be a bit more easier for people to understand. So usually how I work is I start with a really rough shape, and again, like with the polygonic lasso tool, like tick 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 tick, and then I sort of start cutting bits off. So it's really, I guess, sort of similar to stone masonry, right? Like you have a block of stone, and you need to like make a face out of this. So you're just gonna like chop little bits away, right? And I start
Mm.
really rough, man. Like I'll send you some sketches that you can put up. I mean, you'll laugh, man. Like this is ridiculous sometimes because I don't need much, right? When I do the composition, I'm like sort of okay. There's a character that stands, and it needs to be about this big. Man, this is just some purple block with like a sort of vaguely head shape and like almost stick figures. You know how a kid draws. And then like along the way, I just start refining all these things, like cutting bits off, like maybe cutting the nose and like moving the nose up a little bit, like moving the eyes around. So my illustrations, there's like a minimum of like 700 layers probably because like I'm really sort of I want to keep everything separate so it's really easy for me to move, right? If I need to move the hand a little bit, like just rotate the wrist a little bit, that sort of stuff. And actually, what I also do, I reuse so many of my own artwork. I have like a folder with hand drawn textures. So every time I need a texture, right, like a wallpaper for in the background, or maybe I don't know, like a leather texture or something, I just draw the texture in a separate file. I have it somewhere, and I just import it in the new drawings. But actually, what I also do which some people might consider cheating, but I mean, who cares? There's no cheating in art. It's just about making art. I have a man. Drawing hand is really difficult. Any artist will tell you that drawing hand is really difficult. So I have a master file which just has hands that I drew, right? So sometimes I copy them from my other illustrations. I'll just take the hand out because I like the shapes, put it in the file. And then when I make a new illustration, I just open this file and I sort of like, okay, this hand and this position will probably fit. And I just drag it into the illustration and like adjust it a little bit, obviously. But if you would scroll now, like through my timeline on Instagram, you will see the same hands over and over, right? You will see the same face shapes over and over as well. So I just like, okay, I'm going to draw a girl from the side. I really like the shapes that I chose here, like in this drawing I did 3 months ago. Okay, I'm just going to take the face and I'm going to adjust it, obviously, right? I'm going to make the nose a little bit bigger, usually the eye shape I change as well. Because, man, like, I mean, why would I keep, like, torturing myself by drawing this stuff over and over again? I mean, I already drew it. It's mine. Like, I can reuse it, right? And again, like, this sort of ties in with my philosophy. I don't really care so much because I know friends of mine, they're really focused on, not focused, but what's really important to them is being able to draw really well, right? So what is this guy's name, man? Like Kim, I'm very bad at names. There's this like sort of crazy good artist from
Kim Jong-un?
Yes,
Kim
right,
the
right,
guy, yeah.
right. Dude, it is ridiculous. It's crazy what he can do, right? And this in itself is a skill that is admirable, right? But I have no sort of like, I mean, for sure, like if you give me a pencil and say like, okay, draw one of your characters here on a wall, it's gonna look horrible. It's gonna look horrible because I don't have the skill set that this guy has. Mainly because I'm not so interested in it, right? I'm not so interested in like drawing, an amazing character in 10 seconds. I'm more interested in what's the story that I'm gonna tell, like the colors, the composition, that sort of stuff. And I mean, like, not that my way is better or the other way is better. It's just, I mean, how can I say this? It can lead to interesting discussions as well because, like, a couple of my friends, they're really into like the technical aspect of drawing, right? I've had conversations where, like, sometimes, like, if you draw sort of realistic human figures, right, which I don't do at all, like anatomy, I have no clue how this works. I don't know the name of the muscles or anything. I would think, like, okay, why don't you model a character in 3D, like in your sort of style, right? And then you can just pose it and trace it. This is probably quicker and easier than, like, keep drawing the character, like trying to get the biceps right, trying to get the foreshortening right, that sort of stuff. But it feels like cheating to my friends, which I totally understand, right? But again, like in my opinion, there's not really cheating in art. It's just about, in my case, it's about the final product. Like, how is the final product looking? Does it resonate with people? Because, man, I'm sure if you really look at my art, man, there's so much stuff that doesn't make any sense in there. Like anatomy that's not completely correct, which is easier for me to hide because I draw stylized characters, right? But yeah, again, like some people are really focused on like having the anatomy right and they make amazing art. So that's the thing. I'm ranting a bit. How do we get here?
And we got here from what technologies and softwares do you mostly use for your works?
Right.
Yeah, it's fun. I actually enjoy what you were talking about.
So it's basic, man. I just use an Intuos and I guess this is not technology, but like
by technology I just mean hardware. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. So it's just an Intuos on a MacBook and a keyboard, basically.
Yeah, and actually what you said is I used to do the exact same thing and have the whole process in graphic design. Like I had files from like different assets I made, even in my t-shirt designs, I used to just repeat and use them and just rescale them and do all sort of stuff, as well. So yeah, but when you said like, make a 3D model, like for example, in Blender, like, of the character you did and just change the lighting and the poses and just trace it, I was like, oh, that's actually like 200 IQ strategy.
Yeah, but why not, man? Like,
yeah, exactly. Why not?
Yeah, and this happens a lot, by the way. There's a lot of, especially now when you look at process videos of concept artists, I mean, this is a trick a lot of people are employing, and there's some hate against it, right? Because people think like, well, you should learn to draw this yourself. I mean, I disagree with this because I mean, just make art how it's comfortable to you. Like, it really doesn't matter, right? I mean, I try to learn 3D, but it doesn't mesh with me. Like, sort of the workflow, it doesn't really like. It's too much fiddling with buttons and stuff, which is it doesn't feel intuitive to me. But man, if I could get like, if there would be like a super basic 3D program and somebody could model my character, like sort of the basic shapes that I always use, I mean, I would never draw a character from a blank state anymore at all. Like, why would I?
Yeah,
But
makes
maybe
sense.
you're right, man. Like, maybe it's also because I sort of started out in graphic design and animation. I mean, this probably influenced my workflow a lot. I never really gave this any thought, but I mean, I would imagine if you would start as an illustrator, right? You go through the whole path, figure drawing, all this sort of stuff, which is, I mean, is important. I'm not saying it's not important. So this sort of like, I guess, I mean, it pushes you in a certain way to work, right? And like you said, with graphic design, everybody reuses elements. Why would you redesign the same home button like 900 times? Well, you already
Yeah.
have a home button design. And especially the technique that I use for animation was like this puppet animation, right? So like you just
Mm.
make like an arm in 3 parts. There's like a hinge here, and it can just move like this. And you swap out assets if the hand so to do something else. This is actually usually how I draw as well. Like, I sort of like try to make a rough pose of the character, so it's not like a puppet or anything, but like from the side. But I always keep the arms and the hands and the wrists in like separate layers, and I just rotate them, chop off a little bit until it feels right. I don't think I've ever, like, at least in the past 5 years, like just drew a character from start in the pose that I wanted to have the character in.
Yeah, I mean that totally makes sense. That's actually a really smart way to do stuff, because in the end, even in the industry, you have to be an artist like that who can get the job fast, and efficient at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just do every single detail, draw every single detail yourself. Like
Exactly.
most, even in for example environment concept art, not just environment, but I'm just making an example.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
use a lot of custom shapes when it comes to doing their work, and
Exactly.
it's not cheating, to be honest. It's just ways. Here's the thing: it's like someone who wants to become a front end web developer, and like they use, for example, CSS Bootstrap library, as a reference for for their stuff and elements. And someone says, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're cheating. You should code everything from this." Like,
No, man.
what?
Yeah, exactly. Why are you making it difficult for yourself?
Yeah, if you're gonna make a pen drawing, you should first make a pen. You should make the pen yourself, because if you don't make a pen yourself, you're cheating.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
I mean, this whole cheating thing is also like, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I think it leads down to elitism a bit.
yes, but what I've noticed, and I mean, if you check like Twitter or something, and this is
Mhm.
definitely not like, because Twitter is a cesspool, like most social media is, but
Yep.
what I've seen is that like most sort of controversies that happen on the internet, right?
Mhm.
Like a person is copying, or maybe his own, like, okay, copying other
Mhm.
people's work. This is a different thing, but like what I've noticed, the people that get most upset about this are also quite inexperienced, right? They're just sort of starting their career and everything. They just want to be upset about something.
Yeah.
I would think. I mean, this is at least the vibe that I get with all the artists that I talk to. Is like nobody has ever said to me like, dude. I mean, in jest they might have said it, but like, dude, you're cheating. Learn how to draw. Like, don't reuse the same face shape over and over again, right? It's like, because there is no. I mean, man, like, just draw pictures. Like, I mean, like, and it doesn't matter. You can do anything. Collage, whatever. Like, photo bashing is also a thing, right? Where you just take photos of mountains, add some different clouds, and it's a technique and a skill in itself. Like, I don't particularly enjoy it, but I mean, I think there was this. I think you can find it on YouTube. This talk about from, what was it? One pixel brush, I think. Sort of, it's like a concept art studio.
I
Uh,
think
and
it's the founder is Shadi Safadi, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
There's like this 1.5 hour talk, basically sort of saying what I'm saying now, like concept art is dead or something. It's called. I'm not quite sure what it was called. Like, look it up, or you'll leave a link in the description or something. And it's basically 1 hour, like the guy also explaining, like, man, like don't make it so difficult for yourself, especially in concept art, because everything needs to be quick, and it's just concepts, right? It's like, of course, I'm doing publishing work, so this is different. But in concept art, it's literally just concepts, right? Like nobody's ever going to see this work besides the people like that work in the company, right? It's not going to get printed in books or maybe like in art books. So it doesn't really matter if you just like rip a photo from Google like to use as a mountain, because it's quicker, and you need to get a point across, right? Of course, when I'm doing illustration for children's book and everything, I'm not going to rip a photo from Google, right? I'm just going to draw everything myself. But for sketches, like when I do my sketches, I sometimes take photos as well. Okay, there needs to be a mountain in the background. Okay, like I'm not going to deal with like... another example is weapons, right? Like I'm really not interested in figuring out how to draw a gun, for instance. I'm also not so interested in guns, but sometimes the picture demands it, right? Okay, I just take a photo from Google, like paste it on the character, and then I'll sort of like redraw it like later, right? Because I don't need to draw this gun right now. It's just a sketch. So I don't know, I mix and match everything. Everything that I can. Any shortcut that I can take, I will take. And you should take, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I'll try to find because someone else in the podcast, also mentioned the same talk you just said with, Shadi Safadi saying that, do anything you can just to make the get the product out there, get the concept out there, and that's it.
Exactly.
Don't worry about the rest of the details. And all right, let's move on to the next subject. What are you working on right now that you can tell us about? I mean, of course, if there's something that there's an NDA involved, you can skip right past this question. But if that's not the case, what are you doing right now?
I mean, so right now, there's some stuff I can't talk about.
All right.
But there's stuff that I can talk about, which is really also weird. But not weird, but it's something I have to get used to, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I... actually, at the end of this month and early next month, so it's August now, so the end of August and the end of September, early September, a couple of books are going to be released where I worked on, like children's books, illustrated books. So the thing is, these books are going to come out now, but I drew them like 1.5 years ago almost, right? Because there's such a long process, like it needs to go to the printer, it needs to go to all the stores and everything. So this is not something I'm working on right now, but it feels like it's something I worked on now because it's going to release like in a week or something. So one thing that's actually quite cool, I don't have it here so I can't show it to you, but it is how old are you, man?
How old do I look?
Yeah, because this is the thing is, like, what I'm going to tell you now you might not even know what it is, depending if you're too young.
Oh, like that. Oh, I'm 24.
Yeah, 24. Okay, maybe you won't know this. So, have you ever seen the movie The Goonies?
No.
No, exactly. So this is like a fucking... Sorry, for a person, this is
it's fine. It's fine.
This is a huge movie if you're my age, right? Especially in Europe. So it's like one of the cult movies, like Hook, Ghostbusters.
Oh, Ghostbusters, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you must have seen Stranger Things, right?
Yes, the first season, yeah, I saw.
Right. Stranger Things probably wouldn't have existed the way it does now without the Goonies, because like Stranger Things is definitely sort of like 80s movie inspired kids going on an adventure sort of thing, right? Okay, so the Goonies, there's a movie which stars like some people that got quite huge now, which I didn't realize either. So Josh Brolin, for instance. Josh Brolin is, I think, now mostly famous for being that big purple guy in one of the superhero movies. Yeah, I've not seen his films. But he's also like in No Country for Old Men, right? The Coen Brothers movie. And
also in Deadpool as Cable. Deadpool 2.
I mean, man, I've not seen any superhero movies.
No, actually, Deadpool, I highly recommend it. Like, we've been talking for an hour now, and I can kind of get a sense of your personality, and I'm sure you'll like Deadpool.
Yeah.
It's actually a really fun movie.
All right.
It's actually pretty
I'm gonna watch it. If I don't like it, you will not be able to put the podcast online.
Sure, fair deal.
Yeah. But anyway, so okay, so this is also maybe worth mentioning. One of my goals, like when I went through this whole process of reinventing myself, was to join an illustration agency. And what an illustration agency does is basically they sell your work for you, so you don't have to deal with this aspect anymore,
Hmm.
and you can just focus on drawing. So I joined the Bright agency, which has been like really great so far. I think they started in the UK, but they have offices now in New York, and I think there's something happening in China as well. But they basically deal with all the publishers, all the big publishers. Um, so I joined Bright, and I mean, who knows? It might be a couple of months before the ball gets rolling, right? Before they have given your portfolio to all the clients, all the people that they're in touch with. Within 2 weeks of joining, my agent Alex, she contacted me and she said like, okay, I have a really interesting opportunity for you. There's gonna be a children's book like made of the Goonies, the movie The Goonies, and the client would love it if you would draw it. So I mean, I was like, what? Like this movie that like one of my favorite movies growing up, and like now I joined this amazing agency, and like one of the first gigs they give me is like doing this. Whoa, you know.
Yeah.
So I drew like a whole. It's quite difficult actually, also because like I think movies were long, man. Movies were long before. I think it was like 2 hour movie or something. It's an 80s movie. There's so much stuff in there that wouldn't fly these days, right? Like the kids are cursing, everything, even though it's a kids movie. So to transform this into a children's book was quite a challenge, actually, but we managed. So again, like I finished this last winter, I think maybe before winter it was even finished, but it's releasing tomorrow. Not tomorrow, it's releasing next month. Uh, so yeah, I've got a couple of books that are releasing. I'm still working on some books that will. I mean, man, there's a heat wave going on right now, right? You know this. I mean, obviously you know this. Like
Yes.
I'm dying here. I'm sweating. I am now working on Christmas stuff for 2022, right? So I'm sitting here in like blistering heat, drawing snowman and that sort of stuff. Like I can't. So this is also weird because like there's so much time in the publishing world between actually doing something and it getting released, right? Uh, so yeah, I mean I'm working on some of this. There is the other stuff I really can't. No, I can't talk about is NDA stuff.
Yeah, sure, sure. Fair
Like
enough.
it's mainly like concept art stuff for in the animation industry, like
Mm.
character design, that sort of stuff, which is really cool. Actually, I prefer doing publishing stuff, but I mean, still really cool as well.
All right. And well, the next question is kind of not, it's a bit less technical. Um,
Good.
it is what area beside the area you're working on right now would you be interested to explore and learn in the future, given if you had enough time and energy and resources? By the way, I actually want to change this question a bit. Not just
Okay.
learn stuff, like do stuff. Like what would you do if you had, enough time and resource and energy? It could be something completely non-art related, by the way.
Man, that's a really difficult question. I think so. Like, if I would have $1 million, like become a multi-millionaire tomorrow or something, right?
Yeah, kind of like that.
I mean, I would travel more, but everybody would, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think I would keep doing the same. I think I would keep drawing. I like I do client work obviously, but I try to like keep Mondays and Fridays to myself to work on my own projects, and then sometimes over the weekend as well. So I would just keep making. I will keep making drawings. However, your question it's funny actually because I recently, since 2 months or something, started getting back into making music. Uh, I used to play a lot of music when I was younger, but I mean, playing in really shitty metal bands, that sort of stuff. Like I started playing guitar, but I'm not really good at it. No, I'm not good at it at all. Actually, in Holland, I used to. This was interesting. We used to live in an artist community of all musicians, and like really amazing musicians, and me. And I was the only sort of illustrator there because they were all friends. I sort of ended up there. So I was like, music was all around me, and I played some guitar with some people just for fun. And then it sort of like fizzled out, like the past, I don't know, 7 years or something. And then just recently, like literally a month ago, I started buying music equipment again. So basically now in the weekends, I just like spend my time making music, like trying to learn the instruments and trying to learn the software and everything. And it's, man, it's okay. So it's super fun, and it's super fun in a way that, okay, when I'm making drawings, right, there's always some sort of pressure, like either from the client side or my own personal pressure, right? It has to be better than the last thing I did. It has to go on Instagram. It has to be liked by people. This is unfortunately sort of the world we live in now, right? You want a drawing to go viral because who knows what happened? Like new clients will come, which is so art is like now my profession, and but it also like I said, it gives this weird sort of pressure, right? Like I'm not really drawing for fun anymore. Like it's still super fun. I'm still super happy, but I'm not like, you know what? I'm just gonna like chill now and do some sketching, right? When I draw something, I want to make like my next best piece, right? There's no sort of like just chilling out and drawing for me anymore. And now with music, right? Man, I make such shitty music. It is so bad, right? Because I don't really understand how all these things work yet. I don't really, because learning music is like a whole like process in itself, right? With sketches and like the flow of a song. It is horrible, man. It's like really bad, like trap music, like trap beats and that sort of stuff. But man, it's so good to, sort of create something, like do creative stuff, and there's no expectations whatsoever. I'm not gonna let anybody listen to this music besides like maybe some friends of mine, right? I'm not gonna post it on Instagram. I'm not gonna post it on SoundCloud. It's just for me. It's just like me fiddling around. Like so, this is like music. Like I'm getting into music now. Maybe in like 5 years, when I feel like I've sort of mastered it, I might like upload something to Instagram, to an Instagram story or something. But I'm super. I mean, maybe, yeah, you know this maybe, but I'm super excited like to fiddle with music. But like this is a trap though, man, because like drawing you don't really need so much, right? Like the technology, like I said, I just use an Intuos, a screen, the Cintiq I don't even use. But man, like these music devices, as you can see here, I mean, this is so fucking expensive. And like there's like, of course now I'm on YouTube, right? And
Yeah.
so I'm searching like how these machines work and everything. So YouTube starts recommending me synthesizers, that sort of stuff. Incredibly expensive equipment, all of it, and I want to have it all, even though I don't understand what it is. So I bought like literally just yesterday. I bought like this sort of keyboard
Soundboard?
thing. Man, it's a keyboard, but it's made of rubber, right?
Oh.
So the thing is like you can slide your finger on it and it changes the sound. Like you can like wiggle your finger. It's like
I've
I don't really
seen
see,
this stuff,
you see
yeah.
yeah, dude, it is crazy. And I have no idea how I'm gonna use this, but like when I got it yesterday, I just spent the whole evening just like pressing buttons. Like I don't really know how the software works. Like making these weird sounds. I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I think it's good to also start, learning something new, so you could have that, kind of like the kind of like amateur and beginner perspective on things. Like, it helps, to put things in
Exactly.
perspective and also learn new stuff. I have the same feeling with Photoshop. I started learning Photoshop recently, and I kind of have the same
Mhm.
experience you have right now with music, to be honest. It's kind of like intimidating and overwhelming at first, but I'm of course I'm keep going and I'm
For
just
sure.
learning as
For
I
sure.
go, and it gets better.
And man, dude, we live in an age now. This is so amazing. You can literally find anything on YouTube.
Yeah.
Literally anything. So this whole device, I just learned by looking at random YouTube channels, right? Learning how
Hmm.
to like understanding how to Google questions. I think is the most important asset now if you want
Mm.
to learn anything. And I mean, yes, but this is all technique, right? This is all technique and technical stuff. I mean, still there needs to be a spark inside of you, I guess. Like where did
Yeah,
these
sure.
ideas come from? But yeah, technique you can learn. You can learn, man, and it's great. And what you said like really makes sense, man. Like it feels good to be an amateur again, like right? Not that I'm. I mean, I don't necessarily view myself as like a great artist or anything that figured everything out, right? But man, like music, I don't really understand anything yet, right? And I'm sending it to my music friends to get feedback, and they're telling me stuff, and I'm like, whoa, this never even crossed my mind. It feels really great to like sort of like start from the bottom again.
Yeah, exactly. And Well, with everything that's been said and done, to conclude all we discussed, give us a roadmap for someone who is zero in visual arts and wants to get to the place you are in terms of skill set and, just the whole thing in general. So, for someone who is zero in visual arts and wants to just start and get here from this point to this point, what major
Hmm.
steps should they take, in your opinion?
Man. This is Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I had like an orthodox way in sort of arriving where I arrived at now. Uh, However, what I can tell you, and which I only found out recently, like a couple of years ago, and which I wished somebody had told me way before, right? Which I also sort of touched on in the beginning of the of our talk. Like, try to figure out what you want to do, like, because there's so many directions in art as well, right? You can be a character designer, you can be an environment designer, you can be a children's book illustrator, you can be, I mean, graphic designer. It doesn't matter, animator, right? Like, try to figure out like what direction you want to go in, and just like uh, put everything you do towards that goal, right? um, okay, so let me try to give an example, right? Okay, I gave a similar example in the beginning of our talk, actually, right? Everybody was always saying like you should draw children's books, but I had nothing in my portfolio that would suggest that I could make children's books, even though inside I knew, like, of course I can make children's books, right? So if you want to make children's books, but again, this applies to anything. If you want to be an animator, if you want anything, like you can still like take detours and do everything you want, but focus everything towards this goal, right? And it's difficult because, I mean, like I said also earlier, you're probably like 16 or early 20s, and what do you know, right? Um, this would be my one tip, and another tip, and this is the most difficult thing that I had to learn in the past years. Like, find some people, preferably with a little bit higher skill level or a lot higher skill level than you. Ask them for feedback, and ask them to be relentless, right? And how, I mean, this is going to be difficult, but accept this feedback, right? Because what I've noticed, like, I tended to be quite arrogant the when I was like quite unprofessional, also, right? When I was still learning, because you know better, right? Because you are the artist, like this sort of mentality. And when I found this group of people at this event that sort of taught me everything that I know now, uh, when they started giving me feedback, I wasn't used to this at all, right? And this all happened through Discord, through typing. Man, like, I wanted to like break my keyboard in half. Like, how dare they? How dare they say this about my work, right? So this really took me some adjusting for me to sort of get in this sort of mental state that they're not saying it to hurt you, right? And your work is not. I mean, it can always be better, right? Uh, so I think this, and I mean, but you have to experience this for yourself, because if I would tell this to me when I was like 20 or something, I would also say fuck you to myself as well, right? It's like, I mean, you're an old guy, what do you know, right? It's like, it's quite difficult because, like, when you're young, I guess you're automatically a bit more arrogant, because this is what happens when you're young. You think you know everything, but in hindsight, you know nothing, right? Saying as an older guy, but yeah, try to be as open as possible when people say something about your work, right? Uh, and but again, we live in an age now, and this is really amazing. Find the artist that you really enjoy and just send them a message. Like, I've sent so many artists that I admire a message, like, "Hey man, like, can you give me some feedback? Like, what do you think of this?" Right? And of course, some people are busy and they don't reply, but a lot of people reply, and like, people send me work as well, like students or anything, giving them a feedback, and I always take the time. Like, I mean, of course, I'm not going to redraw a whole drawing, but I always take the time to like sort of like guide people in the way with the things that I know, right? Because they're coming to me specifically. So yeah, get feedback, and I mean, if anybody's listening now, I mean, send me your pictures, and I can give you feedback for sure, for sure. I don't know if it's going to help you that much, but like, I found out that the artist community is actually quite open and are really quite willing to share like their knowledge or their things or their brushes even, right? With everyone.
All right, now I think we reached the final last question of the podcast, which is the section I recently added called Final Words. So I'm going to explain what it
All right.
means. It means for
Okay.
anyone who, for example, imagine right now, all right, this episode is edited and uploaded hopefully into the next 2 3 days,
Okay.
and the people who've listened this the whole episode till now. And by the way, if you've listened to the whole episode till now, shout out to you. You're a trooper. And for anyone who's listening to now, there's a message. There's like a window of opportunity for you to leave any message that you could, as a human, just any message, anything, any advice, any tip, any particular tip. Not, I'm not saying to say anything that comes to your mind. Just one major thing that you really want to leave as a message to anyone who might listen to future, maybe in 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, 20 years, who knows? Who are like listening to this episode and are here. What would that be?
I mean, in the current state of the world now, get vaccinated, man. Get vaccinated. This is like,
Awesome.
I mean, I can't imagine that people are not doing this.
No, because the 5Gs and all of that stuff. But yeah, let's
Man,
not get into it.
no, dude, I can taste
Yeah.
5G now, and it
No,
tastes sweet. It's amazing, man. It's amazing.
I don't know. I took my second dose actually yesterday. Like, I'm not kidding. I actually took my second dose yesterday. I don't know. It
Yeah,
tastes a bit salty, to be honest. I don't know. Maybe
yeah. I
it's
mean,
just
it
me.
needs to, the software needs to like sort of run
Yeah.
throughout your whole body and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
it takes
Makes
a while, man.
sense.
It takes a while. Mm.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and coming by for an episode on the podcast. And where can people contact you if they had any questions? Is your Instagram okay?
Instagram for sure. Like I reply everywhere I get messages, but I mean, again, like I said earlier, I don't really involve myself so much in the social aspect of ArtStation or Behance. Instagram, I'll see everything, and I'll if you leave a comment or anything, I'll talk back to you as well. I really enjoy like the whole community over there. So yeah, Instagram would be great.
All
Email is
right.
also possible. Whatever.
All right, I'll put the Instagram in the captions, and also of
Great.
course I do this all the time. I put them in the captions in the Instagram and also tag them in the posts as well. But of course you can tag people in the IGTV posts.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, the two other posts I definitely will, so it'll be easier for
sure,
anyone who wants to send a question or maybe want to give feedback on our artwork or
for
something.
sure.
All right, that's about it. Thank you so much for coming by, and thank you to anyone who tuned in and listened to this episode. If you have any suggestions or critiques or anything, just leave them down in the comments, whether it be on Instagram or YouTube. I check them all, and I appreciate each and every one of you who leave a comment. By the way, like it helps me to grow. As a just become a better podcaster in general. And well, with that out of the way, take care, everyone. Have a good day. See you in next episode, which is going to be recorded in 10 hours. Yes, double episodes in a day. Have a good day, everyone. See you. Bye.